Alright, Benjamin Towles here, back again with another deck profile. This time it's going to be Premium Luard, but I do kind of run like the V standard version of it. I know a lot of people are more bigger fans and more prone to playing the G Luard list, which I also do play and test with. I have all those cards, but I mainly got into the Standard Plus list, and that's what really got me into Luard back when I was playing V Premium, which was just Standard at the time, and I basically just added a G-Zone to it, changed out some cards, added in the Dagdas, and I've loved it like that in comparison to the old variant. So here's my version of that, and then I'll talk about some changes that could be made if you want to make it a little in between the G and the V Premium variant. Anyways, we start off with Drag Prince Root as the starter. Just being able to draw and get a quick shield. It's good basic standard. Then into grade 3s, I do run 4 copies of the Dragheart Luard. I think force markers are too good. That is the main reason why I run this variant. It makes your Morfessa turns so much bigger and better. Also, just this variant, especially if you go first, you can kill your opponent when they're on grade 2. Yeah, you no longer have the superior ride with Phantom Blaster Dragon, and yeah, you gotta have 2 Luards in Soul in order to get the double crit, but still, it's just so aggressive so early and so quick that it puts on so much pressure that I really just like this version. And then following up with him, you're obviously going to run the 4 Drag Driver Luards. Once again, force markers. He's also just a good option because if you ride him, you can activate his ability to search for grade 1s before you stride, since it's a one-placed ability. Also, if you can't go into Morfessa, you can always just go into Chain Ranker, and that's amazing late game, because especially if you're at GB3 and you have the grade 1s, you've got the guard with 3 or more guard restrict, plus all your grade 1s are double crit. It's very detrimental. This is still a good version. And then we're going to go into, obviously, 4 Drag Fencer Dagdas. You could run it at 3, but there's really no way to search him out. Even though the deck does thin itself pretty well, you will see it. I just want to make sure that I get this guy, because if you're going into Morfessa, I think he's your main win con for the Morfessa turns. Getting off that extra column with the 2 grade 1s for an extra swing. You hit a stand trigger, you can activate him again. It's just really detrimental. I like the 4 Drag Wizard Liafalls. He's your best grade 2 ride target. He gives you something to do because you can counterblast 1 and search your deck for a grade 1 card. You can call a Sharon, then you can activate Sharon's ability to countercharge, meaning you just got a free superior call. Also the fact that he can call in the main, and then the main calls something as well. It's just too good. Also, he's 10k base. And then I run just 2 Drag Wizard Morfessa. This card's uppable, it's cuttable, it's searchable, so that's why I just run it at 2. It's the main card that I like if I'm going to go into Chain Ranker, or if I want an early rush, but on your Morfessa turn, you're probably not going to have a full field, and so it kind of pales in comparison then, but I still think she has a place in the deck, especially if you're running the V variant. On to grade 1s, just a good ride target, good call. She swings for 13k, you're going to be putting her on force markers, you're going to be generating multiple force markers, because if you know what Luard and Drag Driver do, you're essentially making, 2 or more 3 force markers per turn. And then, so your grade 1s are going to be swinging huge. It's one of the reasons why I like the V variant, is because of the force markers. Also, her just grabbing grade 3s, either for stride fodder to pitch, or just more rides, it's good. Then we'll go into 4 in the mains. There's never a case where you would not run 4 of her. I do have 2 grade 1 targets in the deck that she can hit, and they will be shown. Also, she can just hit herself. She's just a good plus if you need to fill out your field with grade 1s, or if you need something else to sack off Morfessa, to call another grade 1, sack both, hit your triggers from your drop, so that way you can have the 10 or more grade 1 or grade 0 requirement for Morfessa, and she's just a free plus. Why would you not run her at 4? Sharon at 3, Black Sage Sharon. I know some people run this at 2. The reason why I think 3 is the best sweet spot ever, someone online suggested this to me, and it's always worked out great. I love this card. I love to use it multiple times each game. It gains its plus 3k, so it's 21 on a force marker, which I really like. It can help you hit some good numbers. The countercharging is so good, and one of the reasons why I like it at 3 is several games I would damage check 1, I would ride 1, and then that's it if you're just running 2. Yeah, you can soul blast the 1 that you rode on, or if you heal the 1 in damage, you can always call them back from the drop, but I'd find myself using it multiple times throughout the games, that I always wanted to make sure I at least had 1 in drop or 1 in deck at all times. And running 3, just having 3 in the deck just gives you so much accessibility to them at any given moment. It's one of my favorite cards. I love the focus on this card. 2 Abyssal Owl. It is a target off of the main, obviously. It's just a target that you can call in general, because this whole deck's all about superior calling grade 1s, either from deck or drop. And drawing a card's really nice. And sometimes it's just the Soul Blast. You don't have to counter blast. Drawing a card with a Soul Blast and hitting a key piece is just too good in my opinion. Then here's where things probably get like a little weird or controversial. I was originally running her at 3, but I cut her down to 2. She's really only going to be really good for the early game rush or on your chain ranker turns. She kind of falls dead on the Morfessa turns, like I said, because you're typically not always going to have a full field if on a Morfessa turn. Usually you're really hoping for the DAG to do some superior calls and put in some extra work on being aggressive. If you have a full field on the turn that you stride in Morfessa, especially if it's your first stride, I mean that's just overkill. That's just win more. Like at that point, you've definitely got the game, because you have to sacrifice so much just to get your whole drop filled with the grade 1s and grade 0s. A lot of times you're calling over things, so you're probably going to have the 5 grade 1s if you're going to Morfessa. But I really like her because she's still just an easy call target. There's been times when I've gone first and I'm just rushing my opponent, and then she's 20k. You get 2 of her on the field. I mean, you're getting 4 attacks off. They're on grade 2, and sometimes I've just won just right then and there. And then also on chain ranker turns, I mean, you can just hit some dumb big numbers with her. So I still think she's included in the deck. Then we'll go into the trigger lineup. Of course, I do run the 1 over trigger. I like this one more because, like I said, you're really wanting to swing with your grade 1s. And if you go 100 million, and they're both double crit, that's way more pressure than being able to get a drive check off 1 unit. And the drive check one, that shines more if you're running a lot of grade 3s, because then you get twin drive. Heal Guardian, it stops you from getting rushed down and aggroed too hard. It's also a pitch fodder for striding. For stride crit, you want to stride, you want crits. Once again, more slightly controversial stuff. There is the Dart Shield Mac Lear. Yes, I'm running draws over more crits, over the Belial Owl. Yeah, that kind of cuts out some of the aggressiveness of the deck. Draws are important, draws are nice. Obviously, it's also a perfect guard. And then I guess before I get too far into the deck profile, yes, obviously, you could run the grade 1 PG. which is, like I said, like I run multiple variants. This is just the one that I want to show off. It's the one that I play the most. You'd probably, if you were to put these in my opinion, in my deck list, I would cut these two, and I would also cut 2 Bronwyns in order to make room for them. That would also obviously free up the spot for some more triggers. And then moving into the triggers, I'm currently running 3 Cursed-Eyed Raven stands. A lot of people run this at 4, and I'll talk about that here in just a sec. You can put it back into the deck. It allows you to superior call 2 units, which those units could be used to be sacked by Morfessa in order to get her draw off and activate her ability. Also, just being able to stand a Dagda and then get more attacks off is just amazing. Also, like, you're already going to be doing multiple attacks on your Morfessa turn, and then they're going to have to guard 2 or more. They'll be double crit. Imagine, like, you just wear out their hand and you stand again, another unit. At the very least, it's double crit, guard 2 or more, and if they only have the 1 card in hand, GG. Now, if you do cut the draws, and you do decide to run the grade 1 PGs, I mean, obviously, I would suggest bumping this up to 4, and then in the other 3 trigger slot, I would go the Belial Owls. Yes, you are losing power off this this trigger, because it's only 5k, but if this is retired due to effect, with Luard in its name, you get to draw a card, and then it's also a reoccurring crit trigger because it can go back into your deck. I know a lot of people are probably going to watch this list and be like, yo, the cards you just showed, those should be in your list. They are sometimes, but I just wanted to show what a more V kind of list for premium would be like. And in that list, you're kind of going for, you want to go first, you want to do some early game shenanigans, and these 2 are some MVPs in that, and I really like that about this deck. Then into the G zone, the G deck. I am running 2 chain rankers. You will only actually ever really go into 1. The second one is just another option. Because the GB3 ability is so good, even if you, let's say, it's late game, and you just ride on top of Dragheart Luard. Well, that's not ideal. You'd want to ride on top of Drag Driver to be able to use its ability, because you wouldn't want to do his ability and lose the stride. But you still got the GB3. They still have to go with 3 or more cards. And if you're able to swing 4 times that turn, 5 if you hit a stand trigger, that's still detrimental. Also, if you have Chain Ranker on top of Drag Driver Luard, his ability to give all the grade 1s double crit is active, and that's awesome. But Drag Driver is actually not going to be the main focus of this deck, even though this is not the pure G variant, which is going to run the bluest spotted dragons and the Morian spears and ways to fill up your drop better. You're still going to run the Morfessas. She's the real MVP of the deck, and this list can still 80% of the time first stride Morfessa. I know people probably want that number a little higher, but like I said, Chain Ranker does its job too, and even just rushing and going first does its job too. But Morfessa, she is the main MVP of the deck. You can get away with 2. You will normally only go into 2. Actually, you'll normally only go into 1, because a lot of times you win just off of your first stride Morfessa. But I have had times where the game just goes on. My opponent's guarding, healing, whatnot, and that 3rd one has come in clutch. 2 Dart Dragon Phantom Blaster Diablo. He's a cheesy win con, because if they don't have rear guards to retire, then they just can't guard. And so it's like an easy, cheesy way to get a win off them, but it's not always going to come up. He's in the deck because you have room, but this is going to be like probably a once out of every like 20 games scenario. Then 2 Dragapus Luards, you could actually bump this up to 4. It's a good first stride target if you can't go into Morfessa. Its superior calling is good, and then also its GB3 is really good because sometimes if you're just like out of everything and there's not much you can do, you can just go into this, and then your front row units get plus 10k for every grade 1 in your drop zone. So I mean, you could just be like, okay, there's no fancy shenanigans I can do, and just go into this GB3. Whole front row is huge. One Diablo, just double attacking Vanguard. Why not? We're looking at 2 Jelly Doughs. She's good because then you can get grade 1s to drop, and you give them purpose, so you can guard with them, you draw, and then you fill up your drop zone. 1 Drag Wiser Bronak. When I first started playing this deck, this guy always proc for me. I mean, I would constantly call 2 or 3 grade 1s. Now he whiffs on me all the time. But the thing is, when you do go into him, sometimes you could call multiple grade 1s to the Guardian Circle and just be like, yeah, I'm blocking for 50k plus, and then those grade 1s go to the drop. And then so he's good drop fodder, filler. The 1 Dark Veil Dragon, late game when your whole drop is just filled with grade 1s, this guy is gonna block for 20, 30k plus just on his own. And then your 2 Plotmaker dragons. They're just your basic 25k shields. You hit their condition pretty easily, and you're good. I would even go to say generic G-Guard. And that's it for my deck profile, representing draw 2 cards. Check them out for your Vanguard needs.